Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez studied the alien delegation as they toured the hastily assembled Welcome Center. 5 different species, each more bizarre than the last, moved with an air of scientific detachment, like researchers observing specimens in a zoo. The tallest of them, Krelthax, paused before a display of Earth's technological achievements, his elongated fingers tracing the air above a model of the International Space Station. "Charming," he said, the translator device at his throat converting his musical clicks into English. "We built similar orbital habitats during our Bronze Age." Rodriguez bit her tongue. As Earth's military liaison to the alien delegation, she'd been briefed extensively on diplomatic protocol. Showing irritation wouldn't help humanity's first impression. Still, the condescension grated on her nerves. "Ambassador Krelthax," she said, keeping her voice neutral, "you mentioned evaluating our defensive capabilities. What exactly does that entail?" The alien turned, his iridescent skin shifting from blue to purple as he regarded her. His eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, blinked in sequence. "Your species seems quite focused on military matters," he observed. "Most civilizations we encounter have evolved beyond such concerns." "We prefer to be prepared," Rodriguez replied evenly. Krelthax made a gesture that the translator didn't interpret. One of his companions, a squat creature with translucent skin through which complex organs pulsed and shifted, approached with a hovering data sphere. "The evaluation is standardized across all potential member species," the smaller alien explained, its voice tinny through the translator. "A series of challenges designed to assess your approach to conflict, defense, and tactical thinking." The sphere projected a holographic display showing a desolate rocky landscape dotted with structures of clearly alien design. "This facility orbits a star in what you call Alpha Centauri," continued the transparent alien. "We've prepared environments that mimic various combat scenarios. Your representatives will navigate these challenges while our observers evaluate their performance." General Williams, representing the United States Joint Chiefs, stepped forward. "And what exactly are you evaluating us for?" Krelthax made that untranslatable gesture again. Something like a shrug, Rodriguez thought. "Advancement," he said simply. "The Galactic Concord admits species based on their evolutionary progress. Your approach to conflict resolution tells us much about your civilization's maturity." Rodriguez caught the implication immediately. These aliens weren't testing combat effectiveness. They were judging whether humans had outgrown physical conflict. She exchanged glances with General Williams, who had clearly reached the same conclusion. "We would be honored to demonstrate Earth's approach," Williams said carefully. Later, in the secure conference room beneath the Welcome Center, military leaders from 17 nations debated the alien challenge. Heated arguments in a dozen languages filled the room as strategic implications were considered. "They're setting us up to fail," argued the Chinese general, pounding his fist on the table. "They expect us to be ashamed of our military capabilities." "Then perhaps we should send academics instead," suggested the French representative. "Philosophers who can explain our theoretical approach to conflict resolution." Rodriguez, standing at the back of the room, finally spoke up. "No, they're not just testing our ideas, they are testing our actions. If we hide our capabilities, we'll look deceptive as well as primitive." She stepped forward, bringing up satellite images of the alien mothership on the main display. "They've already scanned our planet thoroughly. They know our technological level. What they don't know, what they can't know from orbit, is what humans are truly capable of when challenged." The room fell silent as her implications sank in. "I propose we send our best," she continued. Not to intimidate, but to demonstrate exactly who we are. Earth's elite forces, working together, showing these aliens that humanity's approach to combat isn't primitive, it's specialized. General Williams nodded slowly. A multinational task force, our finest operators. Precisely, Rodriguez said. Let's show the galaxy exactly what humans can do. The selection facility at Fort Bragg hummed with activity as operators from across the globe filtered through specialized assessment courses. Rodriguez stood beside General Way, watching as candidates navigated the kill house with precision that bordered on artistic. The British SAS team cleared it in 42 seconds, she noted, checking her tablet. But the Israeli unit just beat them by 3 seconds. Way nodded appreciatively as a Navy SEAL named Jackson emerged from the course, his breathing barely elevated despite the intensity of the run. Times matter less than adaptability. These aliens won't be testing us on scenarios we've trained for. Rodriguez agreed. The selection criteria had been established over 72 sleepless hours. They needed warriors who could think creatively under pressure, adapt to unknown conditions, and work seamlessly with operators from different countries. "Commander, you should see this," called Lieutenant Chen from the communications station. She pulled up footage from the alien vessel currently orbiting Earth. The video showed Krell Thax speaking with his associates in what they clearly thought was a private conversation. The humans are selecting their combat representatives with great ceremony, the alien was saying, his translated voice carrying that now familiar tone of amusement. They believe physical prowess matters in modern conflict resolution. Another alien, a floating creature with tentacular appendages, made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. Have they not developed quantum entanglement weaponry yet? Their most advanced weapons still rely on chemical propellants and fission, Krelthax replied. Endearingly primitive, but the Concord protocols are clear. We must evaluate all aspects, even the obsolete ones. Rodriguez felt her jaw tighten. They're in for a surprise. 3 days later, the final team stood assembled on the tarmac. 36 operators, men and women representing 17 nations, each bringing specialized skills and experience. Captain Jackson, the SEAL with eyes that missed nothing. Sergeant Tanaka from Japanese Special Forces Group, whose infiltration skills were legendary. Lieutenant Torres, a Colombian jungle warfare expert who could live off the land indefinitely. Captain Singh from India's Marsoas, whose marksmanship records remained unbroken. They carried minimal gear. The aliens had provided strict guidelines on allowable equipment. No powered exoskeletons, no networked combat systems, nothing that might impress the Concord representatives. That's fine, Rodriguez had told her team during the final briefing. Our advantage isn't technology. It's the human element they've apparently evolved beyond. The alien transport vessel descended through clouds, its crystalline surface refracting sunlight in prismatic patterns. As the boarding ramp extended, Krell Thax emerged with several observers. "Your selection process is complete?" he asked, surveying the assembled team with a polite but distant interest, like someone observing an antiquated cultural ritual. "It is," Rodriguez confirmed, "Earth's finest combat specialists, as requested." The alien's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. Fascinating. Most applicant species send diplomats or scientists to these evaluations. Your focus on physical combat representatives is unique. Captain Jackson stepped forward, his expression carefully neutral. "We understood you wanted to see our defensive capabilities. We're them." Krelthax made that untranslatable gesture again. "Indeed. Well, please board." The journey to the testing grounds will take approximately 14 of your Earth days. As the team filed up the ramp, Rodriguez noticed several alien crew members studying them with scientific curiosity. One was recording biometric data, another taking notes on their movement patterns. "They're treating us like lab specimens," whispered Lieutenant Chen. Rodriguez nodded slightly. "Let them. The experiment won't go how they expect." The massive doors sealed behind them with a pneumatic hiss, and Earth's elite forces began their journey to a challenge that would reshape galactic perceptions of humanity forever. Life aboard the alien vessel settled into an uneasy routine. The human team was assigned a large communal area with sleeping pods and a central gathering space that the aliens called a physical maintenance chamber. In reality, it was a gym, though the equipment was clearly designed for various alien physiologies. Rodriguez watched as her team followed the plan they'd developed back on Earth. During scheduled exercise periods, they deliberately performed at 70% capacity. Captain Jackson, who could normally do 100 perfect pull-ups, struggled theatrically after 30. Lieutenant Torres, whose endurance was legendary, allowed herself to appear winded after moderate exertion. Our avian-like observers seemed pleased with our mediocrity, Chen whispered during the third day of this charade. She'd been assigned to focus on alien cultural analysis and had quickly learned to read subtle cues in their behavior. "Good," Rodriguez replied. "The real training happens tonight." After the ship's lighting dimmed to simulate night cycle, the team gathered in a section of their quarters that Lieutenant Chen had verified was free of surveillance. Using equipment checks as cover, they had systematically swept the entire area, locating and mapping every observation device. "This blind spot is only 4 meters square," Chen explained. "We'll need to rotate through in small groups." And so began their true preparation. While most of the team slept, small groups cycled through the surveillance-free zone, practicing hand-to-hand combat techniques, running tactical simulations, and maintaining peak physical condition with bodyweight exercises. By the 5th day, Lieutenant Chen had established rapport with a junior diplomatic aide named Terax, a willowy creature with feathered appendages and large, curious eyes. Chen deliberately steered their conversations toward Concord history and culture, filing away crucial information to share with the team. "Terax showed me historical records today," Chen reported during their secure meeting on the 7th night. "The Concord has existed for over 10,000 years, but something interesting happened about 8,000 years ago. Most member species began to evolve away from physical combat capabilities entirely." "Evolved away?" Captain Singh asked. "How?" "As their technology advanced, physical strength and combat reflexes provided less evolutionary advantage," Chen explained. "Many species began selecting mates based on intellectual traits instead. Over generations, they lost muscle density, reaction speed, adrenal responses. Some species even lost limbs or appendages that were previously used for defense." Rodriguez processed this information, so when they test combat capabilities, "They're expecting us to have similarly evolved beyond physical fighting," Chen confirmed. Terax explained that modern conflicts in the Concord are resolved through automated systems, sophisticated AI simulations, or rarely, ritual single combat between designated representatives, but even then, it's largely symbolic. "They expect us to fail at physical combat," Jackson said slowly, "to prove we're civilized." The implications sank in throughout the room. These aliens weren't testing Earth to find weaknesses. They were expecting a demonstration of how humans had moved beyond physical combat, just as they had. Rodriguez's lips curved into a predatory smile. Then we'll give them something they haven't seen in 8,000 years. Humans fighting at full capacity. Won't that just confirm we're primitive? Asked Torres. No, Rodriguez replied. It will show them something they've forgotten, that there's wisdom in maintaining balance between advancement and fundamental capabilities. That letting your body become weak while your technology becomes strong creates vulnerability. She looked around at her team, elites from across the globe, each a perfect example of what focused human potential could achieve. We're not going to hide what we are, she said firmly. We're going to show them exactly what humanity can do and let them reevaluate their assumptions about primitive versus advanced. The testing ground stretched before them like an alien wasteland. Under the artificial atmosphere dome, the landscape featured jagged rock formations, sparse alien vegetation, and what appeared to be abandoned structures half buried in reddish soil. Rodriguez surveyed the terrain with a tactical eye, noting defensible positions, potential choke points, and unusual features that might be surveillance or weapon systems. Krellfax stood at the observation platform's edge, his iridescent skin shifting to deep purple as he addressed the human team. The objective is simple, he explained, gesturing to a distant structure that resembled a metallic pyramid. Inside that facility is a marker, a small crystalline cube. Your team must retrieve it and return here. The facility is defended by automated systems designed to detect intrusion. What kind of systems? Jackson asked, his eyes never stopping their methodical scan of the terrain. Krellfax made that now familiar untranslatable gesture. Various sensor technologies, motion, heat, sonic vibrations, quantum disturbances, standard security implementations that any advanced civilization would recognize. Rodriguez caught Jackson's eye. Standard for them, perhaps, but likely unlike anything humans had encountered. Perfect. The systems are non-lethal, Krellfax continued, but detection will register as failure. Your civilization's score will reflect your ability to navigate advanced defensive networks without detection. How much time do we have? Rodriguez asked. Previous applicant species averaged 6 hours for this challenge. Another alien observer interjected. Some required 12. The current record is 4 hours and 17 minutes. Rodriguez nodded. We'll begin immediately. The observation deck fell silent as the human team gathered for a final briefing. Rodriguez kept her voice low despite knowing the aliens were likely monitoring everything. Standard infiltration protocol. Tanaka, Singh, you're our advanced team. Chen, analyze any tech you encounter, but don't engage unless necessary. Jackson, Taurus, you're with me as the retrieval team. The rest of you establish perimeter points for fallback positions. They moved out with practiced efficiency, spreading across the terrain in a pattern that might have seemed random to observers, but was actually a carefully choreographed deployment designed to probe defenses from multiple angles. Sergeant Tanaka reached the first obstacle, a sheer wall that appeared to have no handholds. The aliens watched, expecting him to retreat or search for another route. Instead, Tanaka removed small devices from his pack and placed them on his hands, simple climbing aids that used mechanical advantage rather than advanced technology. His fingers found microscopic imperfections in the surface as he scaled the supposedly impassable barrier with fluid grace. Fascinating, murmured one of the alien observers. They're using physical adaptability rather than technological solutions. Captain Singh demonstrated similar ingenuity at the next challenge, a field of sensors that detected heat signatures. Instead of attempting to disable the system, she produced a reflective sheet from her pack, created a microenvironment beneath it, and simply crawled through, her body heat contained and redirected. The alien observers began murmuring among themselves as the human team systematically navigated obstacles that had stymied technologically superior species. Rodriguez's team approached challenges as problems to be solved with human ingenuity and physical capability rather than technology. When Lieutenant Torres took a fall and gashed her leg on a sharp rock formation, the observers expected a retreat or at minimum a pause in the operation. Instead, they witnessed battlefield medicine performed with ruthless efficiency. Torres gritted her teeth as Jackson applied a field dressing. "Can you continue?" Rodriguez asked quietly. Torres nodded. "It's just pain, Commander." The observers exchanged glances. Just pain. The concept seemed foreign to them, as if pain was something their species had engineered away generations ago. 97 minutes after beginning the challenge, Rodriguez emerged from the pyramid structure, the crystalline marker secured in her pack. The human team regrouped with precision and returned to the start point in formation, maintaining security protocols despite the supposedly safe environment. The observation deck was utterly silent as Krelthax checked the mission time. 1 hour and 37 minutes. Less than half the existing record. Impossible, one observer finally whispered. News of the humans' performance spread through the Concord fleet with unsettling speed. Rodriguez noticed the change immediately. Alien crew members who had previously regarded them with scientific curiosity now kept their distance, their body language suggesting something between caution and alarm. In the quarters assigned to the human team, Lieutenant Chen analyzed the footage they'd captured during the challenge, comparing it with their own helmet recordings. "They're reviewing everything," she reported, pointing to her tablet where she'd hacked into the ship's communication network. "I'm picking up massive data transfers between vessels. They're sending our performance metrics to specialists throughout the fleet." Jackson glanced up from where he was maintaining his minimal equipment. "Good. Let them worry." A chime indicated an incoming transmission. The wall screen activated to reveal the insectoid Vrax ambassador, his mandibles kicking rhythmically as the translator converted his speech. "Your performance was unexpected," the Vrax began, compound eyes gleaming. "The Concord Assessment Committee requests additional information about your species' physical capabilities." Rodriguez stepped forward. "What kind of information, Ambassador?" "Historical context. When did humans last engage in physical combat? Our records suggest most species abandoned direct warfare approximately 2,000 years before achieving space travel." The team exchanged glances. Chen had prepared them for this line of questioning. "Ambassador," Rodriguez replied carefully, "humans still maintain combat-ready forces. We consider physical defense capabilities essential to our security framework." The clicking of the Vrax's mandibles accelerated, a sign of agitation. Chen had explained earlier. "You mean to say your species actively maintains combat expertise? Not merely as historical recreation?" "That's correct." The Vrax ambassador seemed momentarily speechless. After a pause, he continued, "The next evaluation will begin tomorrow. It will assess defensive capabilities against automated combat drones. The committee suggests you rest adequately." After the transmission ended, Torres let out a low whistle. "They're rattled." "Good," Rodriguez replied. "But don't get overconfident. They're adapting their assessment strategy." That evening, while inspecting their quarters, Captain Singh discovered surveillance devices hidden throughout the living space, more sophisticated than the ones they'd detected previously. "They're watching us more closely now," she reported. Rodriguez considered this development, then made a decision. Let them watch. She gathered the team and explained her plan. Instead of hiding their capabilities, they would demonstrate them openly. That night, as the surveillance devices recorded everything, the human team began what appeared to be a casual training session. Jackson and Torres demonstrated hand-to-hand combat techniques, Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, with practiced efficiency. Tanaka ran through knife-fighting drills with Singh, their movements blindingly fast. Others practiced tactical formations, physical conditioning exercises, and combat first aid. Through the surveillance feed, the Conquered representatives watched with growing alarm as humans casually displayed combat techniques most Conquered citizens knew only from historical archives. The Vrax ambassador played the footage for the full committee, his voice occasionally cracking with distress. "These humans haven't evolved beyond physical combat," he explained. "They've perfected it." A reptilian diplomat leaned forward, scales shifting from green to pale yellow, a sign of concern in his species. But why? What threat required maintaining such capabilities? "Each other," replied another committee member, a floating gelatinous being. Their historical records show continuous conflict between human factions. "That suggests dangerous instability," the reptilian countered. The Vrax's mandibles clicked slowly, or exceptional adaptability. They don't rely solely on technology. If their systems fail, they can still fight. In the testing facility preparation area, Rodriguez briefed her team on the upcoming drone challenge. According to information Chen had gathered, previous applicant species typically approached this challenge by demonstrating technological countermeasures, or, more commonly, by showcasing diplomatic protocols for de-escalating drone confrontations. "They're not expecting actual combat," Rodriguez explained. "They're expecting us to show how we've evolved beyond the need for physical defense." Jackson checked his minimal equipment with a slight smile. "So instead, we'll show them what elite human combatants can really do." "Exactly," Rodriguez confirmed. "Tomorrow, we stop holding back." The crystalline Dralkar ambassador paced the private chamber, light refracting through his exoskeleton in angry patterns. 3 other Dralkar officials watched in silence, their own crystalline forms, pulsing with similar agitation. "The humans must not be allowed to complete the combat evaluation," the ambassador declared, his translator rendering his sharp clicks into smooth speech. "Their physical combat capabilities exceed anything currently active in the Conquered." "The Vrax are already discussing defense partnerships," added another official. "The diplomatic implications are precisely my concern," the ambassador cut in. "For 12,000 cycles, we've maintained our position through implied military superiority. These humans haven't even achieved basic interstellar travel, yet they demonstrate combat expertise that we've engineered out of our genetic line." He approached a control terminal, entering a complex sequence with his crystalline appendages. "The evaluation protocols can be modified. The safety parameters are merely programming." "Ambassador, the Alari will sense." "The Alari will sense nothing until it's too late," he replied. "By then, the humans will have demonstrated their true nature. Violent, dangerous primitives who responded with lethal force to a simple evaluation, unfit for Concord membership." In the preparation chamber, Rodriguez's team received their briefing for the drone challenge. Krelthax appeared unnaturally stiff as he explained the parameters. 30 automated defense drones will enter the arena in waves. Your task is to demonstrate your species' approach to defense against autonomous systems. The drones are programmed to tag participants with harmless evaluation beams. If tagged, you'll experience a mild sensation and register as neutralized. Rodriguez noted the tension in his movements. Something had changed since yesterday. Our objective: survive for 30 minutes or neutralize all drones. Krelthax paused. No previous applicant species has achieved the latter outcome. As the team entered the arena, a circular space with minimal cover and various terrain features, Lieutenant Chen sidled up to Rodriguez. "Something's wrong," she whispered. "The Alari representative tried to approach me before we entered." She seemed agitated, but the Drellcar intercepted her. Rodriguez frowned. The Alari were empathic beings, sensitive to emotional states and intentions. Stay alert. This might not follow the standard protocol. The observation gallery filled with representatives from across the Concord. The delicate blue-skinned Alari stood apart from the others, their expressions tense as they watched the arena. A chime signaled the beginning of the challenge. Rodriguez deployed her team in a defensive formation they had practiced countless times. The first wave of drones entered, sleek, hovering devices that moved with impressive speed. Jackson was the first to notice the anomaly. "Commander, energy signature." The lead drone fired, not the expected harmless tag beam, but a concentrated energy pulse that scorched the ground where Taurus had stood moments before. Her combat reflexes had saved her, but the implication was clear. "These aren't evaluation beams," Rodriguez called out. "Live weapons, defensive positions." In the observation gallery, chaos erupted. The Alari representatives pushed forward, their voices raised in alarm. "The drones have been weaponized. This violates all evaluation protocols." The Drellcar ambassador's exoskeleton pulsed with dark colors. Perhaps the humans triggered a security override. Primitive species often misunderstand advanced technology. Below in the arena, the situation transformed from evaluation to survival. Rodriguez's team responded with the instantaneous adaptation that elite human operators were known for. Instead of attempting to avoid the drones as previous species had done, they actively engaged them. Singh used a piece of reflective equipment to redirect an energy beam back at its source, disabling one drone. Jackson and Torres worked in tandem to lure 3 drones into a crossfire pattern, causing them to damage each other. Tanaka demonstrated remarkable agility, scaling a wall fixture and leaping onto a drone, manually disabling its weapons system before using it as a platform to reach others. The observation gallery fell silent as they witnessed something unprecedented. Humans not retreating from superior technology, but engaging and defeating it through physical prowess, tactical thinking, and coordinated teamwork. "Impossible," whispered one observer. "They're winning." The final drone crashed to the arena floor, its systems disabled by a precisely thrown piece of debris. Rodriguez stood amid her team, breathing hard but composed. Blood trickled from a burn on her shoulder where an energy beam had grazed her, but she remained focused, surveying the arena to ensure all threats were neutralized. In the observation gallery, the atmosphere had transformed from scientific detachment to barely controlled chaos. The Alari representatives had physically surrounded the Drellcar ambassador, their normally gentle demeanor replaced by cold fury. "You weaponized evaluation drones against representatives of a new species," the lead Alari accused, her voice carrying through the speaker system into the arena below. "This constitutes an act of attempted murder and violates 17 separate provisions of the Concord Charter." The Drellcar's crystalline form pulsed with dark colors. The humans clearly triggered a security protocol. "We sense your deception," another Alari cut in. "Your emotional state betrays your guilt." Krelthax stepped forward, his iridescent skin now a mottled pattern of confusion and concern. The evaluation control systems were accessed 6 hours ago using Dralcar authentication protocols. The safety parameters were deliberately overwritten. In the arena, Rodriguez had this exchange through her comms system. Despite her injury, she recognized the diplomatic opportunity unfolding. With a quick hand signal to her team, she started toward the exit that would lead to the observation level. Medical units rushed to intercept the humans as they emerged from the arena, but Rodriguez waved them away from herself, ensuring her injured team members received attention first. She approached the now silent gallery of alien representatives, her uniform torn and scorched, but her bearing undiminished. "Members of the Concord," she began, her voice steady despite the pain from her shoulder. "Today's events have revealed much, not just about humanity, but about the current state of your alliance." The gallery fell silent as she continued. "The Dralcar attempted to eliminate us because they recognized what many of you now see, that humanity has maintained capabilities your species have engineered away. They perceive this as a threat to their position." She looked directly at the Dralcar ambassador, whose crystalline structure had darkened to an almost opaque state. "But they fundamentally misunderstood our purpose." She gestured to her team, who stood or sat receiving medical attention, their expressions professional despite what they had just endured. These elite operators weren't trained to conquer or intimidate. Throughout human history, our most effective combat forces evolved from the need to protect, to defend those who cannot defend themselves against aggression. Lieutenant Chen stepped forward, tablet in hand. "We have recorded evidence of the sabotage, including the Dralcar access codes used to override the safety protocols." The Vrax ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly. "This is unprecedented. A deliberate attempt to eliminate evaluation candidates." Rodriguez recognized the shifting political currents in the room. The Concord faces a choice. You can view human combat capabilities as a primitive trait to be feared, or as a specialized evolution that could benefit peaceful members of your alliance. She paused, letting her words sink in. "Earth doesn't seek to dominate the Concord. We seek partnership with species who value peace, but find themselves vulnerable to those who would abuse power." She looked meaningfully at the Alari, whose delicate forms had made them traditional targets for species like the Dralcar. "Humanity stands ready to share our defensive expertise with peaceful Concord members while receiving technological and cultural knowledge in return. A balanced exchange that creates security for all, not dominance for a few." The reptilian diplomat's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue hue. "You propose becoming the Concord's defenders." "We propose becoming the Concord's partners," Rodriguez corrected, "with defensive training as our contribution to the alliance." Murmurs spread throughout the gallery as the implications became clear. The Dralcar's monopoly on military strength was crumbling before their eyes, while vulnerable species saw potential protection they'd never before considered possible. Krelfax's skin shifted to a deep, resonant purple. The human proposal must be formally considered by the full council. 3 months later, Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Terran Defense Academy, watching as the first class of alien students practiced basic hand-to-hand techniques under Jackson's watchful instruction. The facility, built in Earth orbit using Concord technology, represented the unprecedented agreement that had transformed humanity's relationship with the galactic community. "Ambassador Rodriguez," a familiar voice called. She turned to see Krelfax approaching, his skin now a calm, respectful blue when in her presence, a far cry from the condescending purple of their first meeting. "Just Commander now," she corrected with a slight smile. "The diplomatic duties are handled by professionals. I'm more useful here." Krelthax made a gesture that their 3 months of interaction had taught her meant acknowledgement. The Council has approved the next phase of the exchange program. 20 more species will send representatives to train here, while Earth will receive the promised technological package focusing on medical advancements and sustainable energy. They watched as a group of Alari, their delicate forms moving with new confidence, practiced defensive stances against larger opponents. The pride in Jackson's expression as one particularly small Alari executed a perfect takedown was unmistakable. "They're adapting remarkably well," Krelthax observed. "We feared their physiology would be too different from humans for your techniques to translate effectively." Human combat disciplines evolved to account for differences in size and strength, Rodriguez explained. The principles work across species with surprising consistency. A notification chimed on her tablet. Another previously vulnerable species had formally requested human defense training. The list grew weekly as word spread throughout the Concord. "The Drelkar delegation has gone silent," Krelthax mentioned, his tone carefully neutral. "They've withdrawn to their home systems and suspended most diplomatic communications." Rodriguez had expected as much. They're reassessing their position. Their leverage depended on other species' inability to defend themselves. "A paradigm you've disrupted quite thoroughly." Below them, Taurus was demonstrating to a fascinated group of reptilian diplomats how simple tools could neutralize technological advantages. The aliens watched with rapt attention as she disabled a drone using nothing but a reflective surface and precise timing. "We believed advanced civilization meant outgrowing physical capabilities," Krelthax admitted. "We never considered that perfecting them could create stronger peace." Rodriguez watched Earth rise over the lunar horizon, its blue-white surface catching the sunlight. In the 3 months since the evaluation, humanity had advanced technologically by what analysts estimated as nearly a century. Concord medical technology was already addressing diseases that had plagued Earth for generations. Clean energy systems were being implemented globally. The exchange was benefiting everyone. The Vrax conceptual mathematics team has completed their first collaboration with human theorists, Krelthax continued. They're calling the new computational framework intuitive quantum logic. Apparently, the human tendency toward abstract pattern recognition complemented Vrax sequential processing in unexpected ways. Rodriguez nodded, unsurprised. The benefits of the partnership were extending far beyond the defensive capabilities. "Have you considered what might have happened if we'd hidden our combat expertise?" she asked. "If we tried to appear more evolved by your standards?" Krelthax's skin briefly flashed with the purple of embarrassment. "We would have admitted Earth conditionally, provided limited technological exchange, and never discovered what your species truly had to offer." He paused. "An outcome that would have diminished us all." A group of human instructors entered the training area, bringing with them new equipment for the next lesson. The alien students gathered eagerly, their former trepidation about human combat techniques replaced with enthusiastic appreciation. "The greatest fighters hope they never need to fight," Rodriguez said, echoing words her first combat instructor had told her many years ago. "But when they must, they ensure the fight ends quickly, with minimal harm." She smiled as a particularly graceful Alari executed a perfect defensive maneuver. That philosophy translates well across species, it seems. Krelthax made the gesture of deep agreement. "Indeed, Commander. Perhaps it is not humanity that was primitive, but the rest of us who forgot something essential in our rush to evolve beyond our origins."